After Cube World blue balled us so hard, a hero rose among the rest. They opposed the lack of updates for the most promising title of 2013 and started developing their own title. Dangeons of Tal'Doria. Dangeons of Tal'Doria. And I know what you are thinking. It's just like Dark Souls. No, this one's fun and good. For an early access title, that is. Keep in mind that it is still very early into early access. Most things are bound to change for the better. I'm just here to give an honest spin to the first few hours and see if it's worth your money and time. But most of all, a few tips to the development team to make it a great title. Maybe even a classic. Finally, this isn't exactly a review, more of a video about pitching some ideas and trying to get a bit more people to try it out. It's gonna get one after the early access phase. Probably. There isn't a need for a large storyline with protagonists and such, as a threat of some sort causing the players to work together or ally with the enemy will do the job well. Also a good amount of backstory for races and dungeons, not necessarily long or complicated, just enough to make you want to play as said race, or immerse you in the dungeon you are currently exploring. It will make traversing the world much more immersive and enjoyable. Also, dialogue with NPCs is a no-brainer. Oh, and lastly, don't do that whole looks simple but there is a really mysterious and dark backstory that is deeper than the Pacific and edgier than a razor. Just a trend I noticed with new indie games that should really stop. Just having a deep backstory doesn't make something good. If anything, just look at MGS. I believe voxels are the best style of graphics, but these need some serious amount of work. Wait, it's barely in alpha. Well then, as usual the environments are what make these voxel games stand out. This is the case here as well, although to a lesser extent. For one, the land is mostly flat, which makes it rather boring to go through. That doesn't mean there isn't hope, however. There were a few glimpses here and there that proved to me that there is potential here. And lots of it. I wouldn't focus as much on the models being improved, since they are a-okay, but the environments surely need some polish. The art style is different enough and takes a tad more realistic approach. Other than that I cannot say much else. The lighting effects are good, and the animations are smooth enough. My final issue is that the night is kind of bright. It's not really night, to be honest. It's as if the sun is a light bulb and you just change the color to a deep blue. Every gripe I have with the current version is bound to be fixed down the line. Hell, there even is a roadmap feature that lets you know what direction they are going, and all that is missing is going to be added, such as better bosses, quests, skills and all that good stuff. There is also a major focus on the multiplayer. When building comes into play, so many more possibilities will become available. The developers are, as far as I know, listening to the community very closely and occasionally use models or buildings made by the players. Couple that with a workshop which is planned after early access and you got yourself a deal. Hell, maybe an excellent game. All that should be added, to be honest, is variety when it comes to biomes and so forth. This is the type of game that leaves a lot to the imagination with how simplistic the style is. So any form of role-playing will be enhanced greatly, such as camping with friends or doing bosses inside dank abyssal crypts. Just keep it casual when it comes to audience. No one likes tests of skill with one-hit mechanics or absurd requirements. I think first-person view would also be pretty neat. Last but not least, I noticed that the items are pretty damn expensive. Like, holy hell, they aren't even good and they cost more than I have made in 40 minutes of playtime. But how do you progress through the game? Well, you spawn in a biome which is surrounded by steep mountains you cannot climb. These biomes are moderate in size and compact with enemies, ores, sometimes vendors and dungeons. Dungeons by themselves are quite fun to go through, but they are in dire need of traps and lore for each one. Oh, and bosses. I don't mean take a monster and make it bigger with nothing else going on. That never was or will be fun unless the size is absolutely immense and used sparingly. Variety when it comes to models is also a must-have. I know it's hard, but Trove has been out for, what, 3 years now? And that game has like 7 different models for regular enemies. And that's an MMO. Talking about MMOs, Vanilla WoW required players to have specific keys to open some dungeons and raids. I don't know why they scrapped that mechanic. It helped people being more social and friendly. I just used the words social and WoW in the same sentence. These are some good, classic and catchy tunes. But they could have been longer. The sound effects need some more work, making a bit more jolly and having some jingles for when you level up or find a dungeon. But the music is definitely a plus. My only advice would be aiming towards awe-inspiring melodies to help reinforce the vastness of the world, coupled with a few Legend of Grimrock's tunes here and there. Calling them that because if you've heard Legend of Grimrock's theme song, you damn well know how it makes you feel things. I don't even know what I feel, just listen to it. There is some serious potential here. If the developers stick to their guns and more people support them, this is going to turn out superb. It's a bit bare bones now, since it still is in the very start of its early access phase, but man does it show promise. To some, promise alone isn't enough, and that is perfectly understandable, but this is a title to keep an eye on.